Salutations, ghouls and freaks. Welcome to Podcast The Storm, where insane slashers, undead blood drinkers, and all around crooked beans convene to talk and debate all things pop culture. With me, as always, is my co-host, the Mage of Madness, aka the Authenticator, Dalton L. Mortimer.
Hello and good evening, everyone. Yes, we are sticking with the Halloween thing for a little while longer, given that Halloween was literally just yesterday, and technically Samhain originally cuts off in mid-November. So
Might just do this week, to be fair.
maybe.
Oh, well,
Although
maybe.
I'm willing,
Oh,
I'm willing to go up until your birthday if you want to.
well, okay, maybe. Okay, let's meet in the middle and say maybe next week, because
hmm
Frankenstein should be on Netflix by that time. We could do a review of it.
Yeah. So at the very least, we're still doing this for another week. So, but.
Uh, yeah, the 7th is Friday, so okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
that works.
Um, and I'm your host as Scarecrow impersonator, the Brainstorm Pop Culture. How's everyone doing tonight?
I was doing very, very badly up until we started talking because I'm. I feel like I need to share it. My little baby kitten Zephyr, he got outside and we haven't found him yet. He got outside right at 6:30, so I spent an hour sitting on the porch calling his name and stuff. I was on the verge of tears when I hopped in the calls. So I'm doing much better now because me and Brainstorm were talked and that helped significantly, but still very much worried on that front.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we got another. This might be. That'll probably be our final one. I don't think we can come up with anything else next week.
Unless we want to do like as much as this phrase is a meme, the okay hear me out list.
Maybe. We'll discuss it and have like a week to decide on it. But
Mhm.
yeah, we're gonna be doing our. Trying to think of a title for this because Graveyard Smash doesn't technically count for this.
I subtitled mine Slays Together and Stays Together, I think.
Okay, slays together, stays together.
hmm
All right. Dawn, being my resident gay best friend, I know you will pick heads. So
I will indeed. That's especially funny given which I'm not gonna say it.
uh, oh, okay. Tails. So,
Go ahead then.
all right. Uh, there we go. Hellboy and Liz from Guillermo del Toro's Hellboy duology from the early 2000s.
They were almost my number five as well, actually.
Huh. Well, they are low on the list, but I dug it. I know it's very different from the comics, um, but I think they genuinely worked well, and I would have loved to have seen their dynamic expounded more on in the third movie, where they're
Yeah,
parents.
as everyone says whenever the HB duology comes up, it should be a trilogy. The fact that it's not a trilogy is a travesty against cinema.
Right. Um, but yeah, they're genuinely cute, genuinely funny. And Liz really brings out a good chunk of humanity in Hellboy. I know he has humanity just by being raised by humans his whole life, pretty much.
Mm,
But I think there's just like a real genuine soft side that comes out when he's with Liz in the
yeah.
movies, at least.
Mm,
And he's got a really good rapport.
mm.
Um, And the scene, again, the scene that I really dig from. I know Golden Army isn't as popular as the first one, but
Yeah, it was. I thought it was a pretty significant downgrade. It's still good because I mean it's Guillermo del Toro and Hellboy, but it's a significant downgrade from the first one.
the scene where she gives Hellboy a reason to live after he has the spear tip removed by the Angel of Death is
Ah,
just a generally good scene. You know, like it really sells the
yeah, and the whole and the main impetus of it being that she's pregnant with his child
yeah.
is just
Fun
it's
fact.
just
Sorry.
peak romance there, folks.
Yeah. Fun fact. I actually wanted when I'm re when I've ever rewritten the DCEU, and when I was thinking of the scene in Justice League of like Superman being resurrected, my idea was to have Lois there, right?
And do what Liz does for HB. You're
Yeah.
right.
Tell him. Well, to be fair, it was actually supposed to be shown. Like it would have been implied earlier, like a little bit. Um, but to really more sell the fact that Lois was a key in the Nightmare timeline and why her death affected Superman so greatly. Um, Again, there's a lot of moving parts that I don't want to get into that specifically, but yeah, I wanted to do a scene similar to Hellboy and the Golden Army with that. So
Mm.
that's how like impactful I think it really was to me when I first watched that movie years ago. So
Yeah. And sticking with Guillermo del Toro,
yeah, give me one sec. I'm not really surprised you had this on here.
Eliza and the River God from Shape of Water. I looked up things the creature is called, and he doesn't have a name.
I've
I
seen
always just think of I
well,
always just think of him as I always just think of him as the River God. So
I've seen people refer to him as the amphibian.
yeah, that was what Google's AI told me, but it it doesn't fit as well, and it doesn't emphasize the important thing, which is that it, like it's a throwaway line from asshole Michael Shannon character, but or is it Michael Shannon character that uh gives the like little bit of backstory that he's a river god? Um, but I think a lot of people who don't like Shape of Water or don't like the romance in Shape of Water are too busy focusing on the fact that he's a monster and not that she's banging a deity. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why I always just refer to him as the river god.
Fair enough. Any more?
No, it's Guillermo del Toro has his like reoccurring motifs, and one of those reoccurring motifs is sympathy for the monster. I have said before, and I will say again, I really wish we had gotten a whole like universal monster like cinematic universe from Guillermo del Toro doing supernatural monster romances.
Uh huh. Rona?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, my number 4. And I apologize for the photo. I could not find any other good images.
Mhm.
Jeff the Spider and the Spider Queen from Billy and Mandy.
I completely forgot about them. Holy fuck.
I don't think they went through with the marriage, unfortunately. I think they kind of
No,
cut.
I think it would have been good for Jeff though,
Yeah.
if they had.
Um. Yeah, they just seem like they generally do care for each other. I know it wasn't the focal point actually of the special, but they seemed like they really did like each other.
Yeah, and they were very sweet together. I
Um,
mean, Jeff is sweet just in general because god damn that boy gets the short end of the stick at every fucking turn. But
well, blame that marshmallow bunny jackass from Under Fist for making Billy afraid of spiders.
I forgot that, which reminds me, I need to while we're still technically in like Halloween adjacent time watch Jacked Up Halloween again.
But yeah, I'm gonna be honest. It's again, I was kind of on a shorter time frame than I should have been with this because I've been busy last few days.
Mm.
So I didn't actually go really in depth with some of these picks. So
But yeah, no, they're both sweet by themselves, and they're even sweeter together, which is what you want in a relationship.
um, also Jeff really hit it out of the park. Like full honesty, Spider Queen is kind of out of his league a little bit.
I mean, also she's a queen, literally, so good for him. He traded up, but
Yeah.
I think I just heard my cat batting something around the floor, so I will be right back once I check on him.
Okay. What could have been by Ray-Chan and Sting. I am the monster you created. You ripped out all my parts. And worst of all, for me to live, I gotta kill the part of me that saw that I needed you more. I hope you know we had everything, and you broke me and left these pieces. I want you to hurt like you hurt me today, and I want you to lose like I lose when I play. What could have been? Oh, what could have been? Why don't you love who I am? I am your ghost, a fallen angel. You ripped out all my parts. I couldn't care what invention you made me, 'cause I was meant to be yours. I hope you know we had everything, and you broke me and left these pieces. I want you to hurt like you hurt me today, and I want you to lose like I lose when I play. What could have been? To the Wilder by Woodkid. To all the words that I won't get to say, the things that time steals and turns to pain. If it's not love to let you leave again, I don't know what is. But if you doubt and question what the future holds, remember there's no place you can't call home. To all the roads that we are yet to pave, the dreams and stillness entertains and slays. Now, if my love for you won't make you stay, I don't know what will. If you will never leave a trace where you walk, if the only path you take's the one you're told. So walk away, I'll find you. So far away, I'll reach you. To the wilder you. To the wilder you.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay.
It was not him, unfortunately. But back on point.
All right, you're number 4. Let me get that up real quick. It's weird how you have straight couples on your list. It's weird how you have straight couples on your list.
But like I mentioned when we were discussing it off stream, there just aren't that many. There aren't that many mainstream like gay couples that are good in fiction in general, and horror doesn't buck the trend unless you go for the monster fucker, like romance novel subgenre. But yeah, Vlad Dracula Tepesh and Lisa of Lupu from Castlevania. The only reason they're this low is because the time skip, I think kind of nerfs them. I think if we got more screen time with them, like we got with Hector and Lenore, or I'm trying or Oryx and Mizrak from Nocturne, or any of the other relationships. I think if we had gotten more screen time and actually got to see them build that relation, or Alucard and Greta from season 4, I think we would have. Obviously, we see the devotion. Obviously, we see the aftermath, and the "I'm killing my boy" scene makes even my cold black heart feel something. So I can't imagine what it does to people with actual emotions. Um, being that as it may, um, I think they are a really amazing couple, and could have been even more so if the time skip hadn't been so like complete.
Okay. My number 3 then?
Yep.
Okay. Barbara and Adam Maitland from Beetlejuice.
Maitland, I believe.
Okay. Well, for one thing, Beetlejuice is an awesome movie, so. I know Dawn and I have a disagreement on this, but I like the Maitlands because, well, for one thing, yes, they are new to the whole supernatural stuff, like the ghost stuff, but they do seem to be genuinely loving and caring people and are great together and are just very happy. And they did actually be like pretty good parents for Lydia, which is nice given.
More than you can say for her actual parents, because fuck them. But
I think her mom isn't in the picture because I think she passed, right? And it was her stepmom, right?
is Delia Dietz her stepmom? I assumed it was her mother.
Hold on. Yeah, stepmother.
Not beating the wicked stepmother allegations, are we, Delia?
Oh no, Charles, Lydia's dad. It did end in divorce. Huh. Just sworn her mom died.
So what we're saying is Chuck doesn't know how to pick them. Is what we're saying? Because between the first wife and the second wife, you need to learn to not stick your dick in crazy, sir.
Well, I don't think we know anything about the first mom, so like the first wife.
Well, if it ended in divorce, then either he, and this is before like no fault divorce was really a thing. So I'm going to be somewhat charitable and suggest that she was the problem rather than he being the problem. Because as much as he's kind of a clueless twat, it's more out of stupidity than it is out of malice, I think.
Yeah.
In Charles' case, so.
But
I don't think it would have been him abusing her.
Right. But, they, again, back to Barbara and Adam. I know you're not the biggest fan of them, Dalton, but
yeah, they're the one part of Beetlejuice that I just don't like very much. I normally skip their like introduction scenes when I rewatch Beetlejuice.
I can get why you don't, but for me, I think they're cool. They're fine. Um,
I think my issue with them more than anything is they kind of they kind of nerf the tone because they're the only part of the movie that's like classic suburbanite like happy couple shit.
I could get the
And
suburbanite thing. Maybe
yeah,
happy couple. I'm not sure about that one, but
but what I mean is it cuts down on the spooky atmosphere, and I like the spooky atmosphere, so that might be one of the reasons I hold certain things against them.
mm. But no,
You,
they
you,
like
you're
they're.
you're nerfing my joy, folks. Get on with it.
I think you're being a bit dramatic, but uh, they again they just seem like a really good, nice couple. They really work together. They're a solid unit. You know, they're always discussed. They're never going behind each other's back trying to do something. They're always, it's a team effort.
Yeah, they're a stable, good couple, and especially in Hollywood, that is hard to find.
Yeah. Also, the scene before they jump out and accidentally scared Delia with their monster forms,
Mm.
where they're having a discussion of like, you know, that's just good because I think with Tim Burton and stuff, it's the trust that the audience can get the convesion, the con- conveying of the emotions and heart from them, even though they look like these grotesque, horrific creatures,
Mm.
which I think is just really cool. Um,
Tim Burton isn't always good, but when he is firing on all cylinders, he might be one of the best in the biz.
yeah. All right, you're number 3.
Yep. Dr. Lecter and Clarice Starling from the Hannibal Lecter trilogy of movies. I specify the movies here because in the book of Hannibal, it the, the way they end is a lot less wholesome in the book. Um, it also implies that Lecter is. It also implies in the last book that the whole reason why Lecter was so enthralled with Clarice in the first place was because he was planning on brainwashing her and turning her into a surrogate for his sister that he lost. Fuck that noise entirely. I don't care if Thomas Harris made up the characters. He doesn't get to do that to them. Fuck that noise. Um, but in the movies, where that whole element is mercifully absent, they they are the kind of good couple that if Harley and the Joker ever made it work, they would be. Um, this will not be the last time you see a Dr. Lecter on this list, by the way. But that's neither here nor there. They're just you can tell that they both genuinely care about each other, even if they're conflicted about it. Um, I think the main reason um why people don't focus on that element as much as they should is after when they made the Hannibal movie, um uh Jodie Foster didn't want to come back as Clarice because she assumed they would go for the book ending, and by the time they had gotten in touch with her and confirmed that they weren't doing the book ending, she was already occupied, I think, on Contact. And no disrespect to Julianne Moore, but not only was she not right for the role, I think there would have been actors who could have played the role other than Jodie Foster, and it would have worked. Particularly off the top of my head, Holly Hunt, the the woman who was the senator in Batman versus Superman and also the voice of Elastigirl, because my God, um, I for the longest time assumed that Jodie Foster was the voice of Elastigirl just because their voices are so similar. Um, I think if she had played Clarice, it would have been a better casting. But the sort of lack of chemistry between Anthony Hopkins and Julianne Moore really nerfs Hannibal. Um, but yeah, they're not quite as relationship goals as some of the others on this list, which is why they are at 3. But they are a genuinely sweet couple. Again, I am specifying here in the movies because again, the way Hannibal the novel ends is fucked beyond all imagining.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
All right. My number 2. Lily and Herman Munster from the Munsters.
I knew they were going to be on here. I just did not know where they would be.
Um, let me be fair. I will say, and Dawn and I have had this somewhat of a, I wouldn't say a point of contention, but I think it's just because of our ages a bit. Um,
It's also, I think it's also just a difference in what we.
like,
I think it's a difference in what we admire in
yeah.
relationships and so on.
Um,
Like I often summarize it, the Adams are people who choose to embrace their monstrous side. The Munsters are monsters trying their damnedest to be human.
right. But they are. I know it only went like for one season, even though it was like very popular. The Munsters. I mean,
That is it really only one season?
um, I thought it was 2. Hold on, let me check. I am fairly certain it was just 1.
Because I know Adam's family got 2, or at least it might have even gotten 3. I don't know, but yeah, that that fucks with my head if they only got 1.
Yeah, 2 seasons. Oh, okay, it's 2 seasons. Sorry, 2 seasons.
Okay, so they did get roughly the same amount as the Adams did. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Because I know that they were sort of the um antonyms to each other
Right.
back on the day. Or
Right.
back in the day.
That's what I was saying. Um, they are again. They're a very solid couple because they do talk and they like Herman isn't actually like a bumbling oaf like a lot of sitcoms at the time had. Um, he was a generally nice, generally caring, loving husband, father,
Yeah.
caretaker of the house.
He,
And
he he's not Homer Simpson with super strength. He's actually a really good father to Eddie, and I forget is it Valeria?
I can't remember. Um, but yeah, they do a lot of things together. They're like they're not all doing their own things. I mean, they do take care of things. Like Herman has a job working at a mortuary, I believe, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And Lily takes care of the house, which as at the time made sense, obviously, given the culture of the
Mm-hmm.
'60s.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, they both, yeah, how to put this, they provided for their family, which was like the main thing that drove them. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they loved their family greatly and didn't stop them from loving each other as well. And just I don't know, I really dig it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and for the record, I I know some people have. I've watched a few videos on the monsters, and people say it's hard to bring the monsters back, unlike the Adams, because it was created for TV, and thus the performances of the original monsters are what kind of stay more.
Mm.
But I have been considering this. I think there is an actor who played Herman. Um, you would know his face. Hold on. Do you ever watch Scrubs, Don?
I've seen clips of it. I never got into it.
Royce didn't. Or well, okay. Neil Flynn is an American. He's also he was in Mean Girls actually as well.
Who do you play in that?
I'd have to look it up. Katie's dad.
Ah, I think I know who you mean now.
Okay.
And yes, I'm the stereotypical millennial who like makes references to Mean Girl a lot. Shut the fuck up.
Dude, everyone's seen Mean Girls. You're not special in that regard.
Yeah, but it's a particular like stereotype of millennials that we're always like making references to it and quoting it and shit.
Okay.
To be fair, I make references to a lot of shit, and Mean Girls actually doesn't come up very often, except when I'm trying to think of the like stereotypical queen bee bitch character, and then of course Regina George pops in my head.
Oh.
But
Hey, Jonah. You're cool. To be fair, everyone lurks. Bring back the monsters. Bring the monsters back. You just have to treat it like a rom-com telenovela to make it work. And you haven't seen Mean Girls. To be fair, I only saw it once when I was a kid, so I don't really remember it nor care to.
like I said, it's definitely more of a millennial stereotype than it is a Zoomer thing. And even I'm like tail end of millennial, like the last 2 or 3 years of millennial. So like,
I I had an idea to bring the monsters back as kind of spoofing Modern Family a little bit.
what did you think of What did you think of the movie?
I'll be
Did you
honest,
ever act? Did you ever actually see the movie? I guess is the question.
no, I didn't. I haven't had a chance to see it. I know we covered the trailers when those were coming out, and I was actually excited about it. Um,
I almost got it for you for Christmas last year. The box set for the monsters.
oh, that would have been nice.
It's definitely still on the short list of things to get you for Christmas at some point. Probably not this year though, just because I'm gonna wait until you forget about it before I get it for you, probably. But
I mean, Don, I'm gonna be honest. I'm probably gonna forget it like tomorrow.
mm,
But yeah, I think that's all I really gotta say about the monsters. I know there was a pilot for a revamp of the show back in early 2010s. You know,
mhm.
13 Mockingbird Lane,
Yeah.
which actually had a pretty good cast in it.
Mhm.
If I remember correctly.
I think they tried to play it a little bit straighter and a little bit less comedic, if I remember correctly.
It was actually I think it was a lot closer to um yeah, it was very much like I think it was taking a lot more inspiration from like the Adams family more so than the Munsters.
As much as I love the Adams and I do absolutely adore the Adams, that's a mistake.
Oh,
Like
it was made by Brian Singer.
like I alluded to before, the Adams Munsters duality is important to both of their characters. The Adams are humans choosing to be monstrous, and the Munsters are monsters trying their damnedest to be human.
But in all honesty, I do think, like, I know I have seen, I hear Dalton raging at that suggestion of Netflix.
What? Which Netflix? What? What have they done now? This does not narrow down the stupid things that Netflix has done. What have they done now?
Hmm. Anyway, let me get your number 2 up. Oh,
Will and Hannibal from the Hannibal TV series. Okay, for those that need the backstory, when the folks behind first season of American Gods and Dead Like Me decided to adapt the Thomas Harris novels for TV, they didn't actually have the rights to Clarice Starling, even though they kind of got around it with Miriam Lass anyway, but they didn't have the rights to Clarice Starling, and so what they did instead was they took the mentor turned victim relationship from Will Graham and the sort of implicitly romantic vibe from Clarice and Hannibal's relationship, and they combined them so that Will and Hannibal like linger around like very heavily devoted friendship relationship or wanting Hannibal wanting them to be that close of friends and just straight up being a ship. And this particular case, the show itself did it. It's not the John Locke shippers from Tumblr. The show itself very much explicitly did it. And I realized that putting the Mads Mikkelsen Hannibal and Will Graham above the Anthony Hopkins Hannibal and Clarice is going to be controversial. But a couple of things. One, and again, I am aware this is going to be controversial, and just to be clear, I love them both. The Hannibal Lecter trilogy, and yes, it is a trilogy, we don't talk about Hannibal Rising, was my first exposure to a horror movie as like a 13-year-old. So I have oodles of high standards when it comes to the Hannibal Lecter franchise. But I think the show did it better. First, because they simply had more time to explore things. And we got to see Hannibal living what would be for him his day to day life. But also because, and I'm saying this as someone who, like I say, has an obsessively autistically devoted knowledge and understanding of the Hannibal Lecter franchise. I think that the folks that gave us Dead Like Me and the folks that gave us season 1 of American Gods have a better understanding of who and what Hannibal Lecter is. Because as iconic as Anthony Hopkins' take is, and we won't even mention Brian Cox than to say that he's not even applicable here, but as iconic as Anthony Hopkins' Hannibal is, they fall into the trap of treating him too much like almost like a stereotypical vampire style monster. And the genius of the folks that gave us the Hannibal TV show was they focused on the parts that don't often get focused on in Hannibal, which is yes, he's a cannibalistic serial killer, but he's also a genius with an aristocrat's like highly developed sense of taste and style, and focusing on that aspect. And again, part of this is simply because they had more time to devote to seeing Hannibal in his element, in his high society, high intellectual niche, um, which they captured and amplified masterfully, as you would expect from the people who gave us Dead Like Me and American Gods. But but yeah, part of that is just more time. But part of that is also, I think, I don't want to say that I don't want to say that we were in the same. I don't want to say that me and the showrunners were in the same mindset with regards to the important things about Hannibal are not actually his cannibalistic serial killer monster mode. The important things about Hannibal is everything else, and the being a monstrous cannibal serial killer is basically just the icing on the cake, so to speak. Um, but frankly, given how formative Dead Like Me was to my way of doing things, my like sense of style and taste, it might be that the folks that gave us Dead Like Me and American Gods are to some degree responsible for why I favor that sort of style. But it does seem like we were in the same analytical space with regards to the Hannibal Lecter franchise. Um, and I am so glad we got a Hannibal that focused more on that. But also because the relationship between Will and Hannibal is more three dimensional because it is combining that aspect of mentor turn or mentee turned victim on Will's part and the romantic text and subtext of Hannibal and Clarice's relationship. You wound up getting a very much more three dimensional um, relationship than you usually get in these kind of movies and these kinds of shows because we got to see Hannibal transition from I want this guy as a best friend to I'm actually willing to explore the romantic angle. Small thing before we move on, I almost put Hannibal and Alana Bloom's relationship here as well, just because there are moments where I think she understands him better than anyone else in the show. Like I remember in season one when I'm pretty sure you've gotten this far, Brainstormer, so it's not a spoiler. But when Hannibal takes Abigail out and brings her home to cook for her and stuff, um, when Alana finds out and she goes to him, she points out how shockingly rude it was for someone who places such a high value on refinement and courtesy, and you can see it actually rattle him because he's not angry with her for pointing it out. He's not resenting her for pointing it out. He knows she has him dead to rights by his own standard. And given how seldom Hannibal Lecter is rattled by anyone, the fact that she was able to connect to him in that way um, does work. Also, the scene where he gives her her private reserve because he likes that she's capable of appreciating things even with different taste. But but yeah, I almost put them here, but they're not the main crux of the show. And one of my sort of provisos for this list was they have to be like the main character or the main couple that the story revolves around. So Will and Hannibal it was.
All right.
Um, yeah, our shared number one then.
1 second.
Because yes, we did in fact jinx each other with regards to our number ones.
Totally unplanned.
Although not altogether unsurprising, because when
Yeah.
you see who it is, I mean these folks are just relationship goals, folks.
Truly.
Gomez or Morticia Adams, particularly in my case, the '90s version, just
Oh,
because
same.
I think those I think those movies are probably the best adaptation of the Addams family outside of Charles Addams' original comics. Um, plus, Angelica Houston and Raul Julia just have all the chemistry to begin with. Um, but being that as it may, yeah, Gomez and Morticia are probably they're one of the single most relationship goal couples in all of fiction, much less in spooky or Halloween oriented fiction. So I don't think either of us would have ever dreamed of putting anyone else above Gomez or Morticia on this list. Again, considering that there's an argument to be made that Gomez and Morticia are just one of the best couples in all of fiction, let alone when you narrow it down to Halloween or spooky territory.
I mean, I don't think I can say any better than you can, but honestly, I think a video from a channel called Cinema Therapy that explains why. Oh, Dracula from Castlevania. Says Giant Troll. For the suggestion of Netflix, I guess
What? I'm not sure what.
I don't know. But what I was gonna say was yeah, video from Cinema Therapy discussing this particular version of Gomez and Morticia and how they are generally one of the best depicted couples. I think would properly sum up my thoughts and why I think this is like a really good relationship in terms of gothic or horror or whatever you want to call it, genre.
Yeah, and the remarkable thing about Gomez and Morticia, particularly this version, which again I think is probably the closest to the spirit of Charles Addams' original comics as any adaptation of the Addams, but or more so than any other adaptation of the Addams. But the thing is, this couple works on so many levels that you can get to the same place from dozens of different rationales. They are perfect for each other, and they are a perfect portrayal of two people who have found the one and love every minute of it. As I said previously, there's a sincere argument to be made that they might be one of the best romantic couples in all of fiction, much less when you narrow it down to spooky shit. Anyway, moving on to the next topic of the night.
Yeah, I was just getting ready.
Mm-hmm.
So, trying to finish. Before and after I became a social justice vampire, filmsforaction.org. It's written by Pat Mosley and published August 8th, 2018. As originally from our vampire episode that was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Was Vampire second, or no, Frankenstein was second?
No, Frankenstein was first. Vampires were second.
Okay, good. Because I know we moved them because we had an easier time coming up with Graveyard Smash lists for the Frankensteins.
Well, no, just everything kind of congealed.
Yeah, that was the other thing. That's kind of how we came up with the theming for the episodes, was all at once everything was Frankenstein themed, and we just decided to run with it for the remainder of the month. But anyway, moving back to this parasitic bullshit, literally, but on dish.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Late economist Mark Fisher described this form of social media based activism as vampirism in his 2013 essay, "Exiting the Vampire Castle." The vampire specializes in propagating guilt. It is driven by a priest's desire to excommunicate and condemn, an academic pedant's desire to be the first to be seen to spot a mistake, and a hipster's desire to be one of the in crowd. The danger in attacking the vampire's castle is that it can look as if, and it will do anything it can to reinforce this thought that one is also attacking the struggles against racism, sexism, heterosexism.
I don't think the vampirism metaphor is necessary. I think that's just a description of uh, like uh, like the purity spiral of authoritarian moralism. Although I will say, um, as much as I do hate TradCon family values morals authoritarianism, I don't think their purity spiral and backbiting infighting was quite as severe as social justice's was. Um, Part of that is probably due to there wasn't um, a huge amount of internet social media in the um, 70s, 80s, 90s, and early 2000s when the TradCon purity spiral was really in its heyday. But I also think that there's something bound to the body of theories that beget social justice in the first place. It's that neo-Hegelian, um, it's that neo-Hegelian oppressor and oppressed thesis and antithesis dichotomy bullshit, and the deconstructive pseudo-intellectualism of various forms of critical theory, postmodern deconstructionalism, post-structuralism, etc. That we have to deliberately go after as much of culture and society as we can because everything is political. That attitude is uniquely fucked in social justice because it is an explicit part of their intellectual paradigm. When the tradcons do it, it's a lot less backed by theory and a lot less backed by like the modus operandi of the ideology itself. When tradcons do it, it's mostly down to human nature. I mean, there's a little bit of like theologian intellectualism from the Middle Ages, like Aquinas and so on, that might give some scholarly legitimacy to it or theological legitimacy to it. But with social justice and every other ideology that's bound to like critical theory and neo-Hegelianism, um, it is explicitly a part of their paradigm, and it's considered to be a good thing when they do it. So that's probably why they're more susceptible to it than um, Christians in the 21st century are, because Christianity was extremely it was bettered by things like the Protestant Reformation, the the Enlightenment, the Renaissance, the scientific revolution, the industrial revolution, etc. Whereas social justice explicitly turns itself into this kind of weapon and considers it to be a good thing. Um, Moving on though, sorry.
Yeah, yeah, one sec. Okay. Uh, okay. Sorry, I thought I lost my place.
Hmm.
But far from being the only legitimate expression of such struggles, the vampire's castle is best understood as a bourgeois liberal perversion and appropriation of the energy of these movements. The vampire's castle was born the moment when the struggle not to be defined by identitarian categories became the quest to have identities, in quotations, recognized by a bourgeois big other.
Okay, that is not liberalism. That is not classical liberalism. That's not English liberalism. It's barely even applicable to French liberalism. That is neo-Hegelianism. That is the thesis-antithesis dichotomy. That is the oppressor and oppressed false dichotomy. That is social justice in a nutshell. That's I think I mentioned this last time, but I think this pretty solidly confirms it. This is the sort of person who, when social justice or wokeness fucks up, they pull the this is actually just rad lib shit, and it's liberals trying to appropriate social justice, when in actuality, if anything, it's the other way around. It's social justice trying their damnedest to hide under the cover of liberalism so that they don't get called out for the neo-Hegelian false dichotomies and the like critical theory body of the post-Frankfurt School critical theory that social justice is explicitly not only founded on, but considers to be a good and moral thing. So, yeah, no, this isn't liberalism appropriating social justice. This is social justice working as intended, and then someone who desperately needs to cling to social justice going, real social justice has never been tried before, honest. Moving on.
All right. Prior to Fisher, however, Anton LaVey also correlated guilt as an influence tactic with what he called psychic vampires, or people who fed off the labor, emotional, physical, or otherwise, of others.
Okay, here's the problem. LaVey was a materialist atheist with an edgy streak. The problem with the phrase psychic vampires is he is explicitly appropriating in secular edgy boy atheist terms something that actually exists in the mystical realm. There are people who parasitically leech off of other people's energy, like other people's life energy. There are also spirits and types and classifications of spirits that explicitly do this sort of thing. So yeah, Anton LaVey can go fuck himself for trying to appropriate for what is essentially materialist atheism with a floor show, as Six Hexenhammer puts it, trying to appropriate for that cause an actual mystical term, thereby irreparably muddying the waters with said term. So yeah, no, Anton LaVey can go fuck himself as well. When there are actual psychic vampires both in the realm of magical practitioners and in the realm of metaphysical entities, you can take your psychic vampirism as a metaphor and shove it up your ass. Moving on.
All right, give me 1 sec. Okay, the quote. Often the psychic vampire would use reverse psychology, saying, "Oh, I couldn't ask you to do that," and you in turn insist upon doing it. Psychic vampire never demands anything of you. That would be far too presumptuous.
Yeah, no, that's just an affectation of cluster B personality disorders. That's something that often gets referred to as either the love bombing phase of narcissistic and other cluster B relationships, or the covert aspect of said narcissism, also sometimes tied to the concept of gaslighting. But yeah, no, that's not psychic vampirism, Mr. LaVey. That's just a subset of behaviors found in cluster B personality disorders. And again, as a actual magical practitioner who's been a magical practitioner for 19 years and counting, your need to appropriate actual mystical terminology to dress up your edgy atheist screed pisses me off. Moving on.
Okay. Okay. Go. They simply let their wishes be known in subtle ways which will prevent them from being considered pests. They wouldn't think of imposing and are always content and willingly accept their lot without the slightest complaint outwardly.
Yeah, again, that's just covert narcissist playing the victim. That's all that is. That's
Yeah,
not psychophantasm. That's just covert. That's just covert narcissism playing the victim.
okay, hold on. There we go. Where LeVay observes, reverse psychology employed by psych vampires of his day. However, I would argue that today's vamps are keen to make demands of other people, and that doing so is even now considered an acceptable moral standard or virtue we should oblige.
Yes, that is a problem of your own making, oh believer in social justice. That is social justice working as intended, and you not wanting to take responsibility for the inherent flaws with social justice because you desperately still want to cling to it. Well, fuck you. You don't get to call this rad lip shit. You don't get to call this anything. This is your ideology having negative consequences that you don't like having. A lot of ideologues do this. When someone brings up bang to rights, something that their ideology is uniquely culpable and responsible for, they just go, well, that's not true, whatever the ideology is. In your case, that's not true social justice. And then, of course, often the um, the implicit next step is, if we just put me and my ideological particulars in charge of whatever this ideology is, I'll do it right. And then they proceed to do the exact same fucking heresy hunting and scapegoating that they complained about the other people doing. Because when I'm in charge of it, obviously I must be the good guy, even while I'm doing explicitly bad things. As we've known for a very, very long time now, the road to hell is almost always paved with good intentions, because no one actually likes to see themselves as the villain unless they've already ideologically convinced themselves that being the villain makes them based, which is just another form of trying to morally and intellectually legitimize the villainy, which is again just reframing villainous actions as goodness, or if not goodness, at least correctness. Anyway, moving on.
Right. Alright, responsibility for this cultural shift towards acceptable vampirism, I believe, does not rest solely on Facebook, Twitter, or social media in general. Rather, it is the perfect storm of these impersonal platforms, combined with the failures of liberal identity politics and the continuation of trauma on new generations.
Liberalism doesn't have identity politics, you stupid fuck. Liberalism, by definition, is rather universalistic and pluralistic. The very notion of politics of identity is uniquely the brainchild of the intellectual hacks in academia after, post Frankfurt School critical theory, which again, I'm noticing that you keep ignoring the academic charlatans who make the academic theologians who make this their stock and trade. Because if you actually dig into the theory behind and creating social justice, you would realize, again, that this is a problem unique to social justice and that this is your ideology functioning as intended. You just don't like the fact that that does include the negative consequences thereof. It's like when Christians say Christianity wasn't the problem with the Inquisition or the burning times. Yeah, no, it was. You just don't like that. You just don't like that your ideology is sometimes responsible for bad shit.
I mean,
Moving
I
on.
argue that it was blind fanaticism and the misappropriation and misunderstanding of the word in of the Bible being construed by a bunch of jackasses who thought they knew what was right.
Well, that, but also if those sorts of mistakes were made, they were made in the translation of the Bible, which again you can blame King James for. You can blame King James the First for because the dude had a paranoid streak that would make Richard Nixon look like Julian Assange. Um, so like if that is the case, that has been the case for almost the entire existence of the church, and therein lies the problem. Moving on.
Okay. Okay. Stab at why we become vampires. You guys know about vampires. You know, vampires have no reflections in mirrors. There's this idea that monsters don't have reflections in the mirror. What I've always thought isn't that monsters don't have reflections in the mirror. It's that if you want to make a human being into a monster, deny them, at the cultural level, any reflection of themselves. And growing up, I felt like a monster in some ways. I didn't see myself reflected at all. It was like, yo, is something wrong with me? That the whole society seems to think that people like me don't exist. And part of what inspired me was this deep desire that before I died, I would make a couple of mirrors. That I would make some mirrors so that kids like me might see themselves reflected back and might not feel so monstrous for it. You're not.
Okay, honey,
Yes.
this doesn't work either in the metaphorical sense or in the actual literal sense. The reason why vampires don't have reflections in mirrors is because, especially back in the Middle Ages, the metal that was used in mirrors was silver, and the idea was that silver was spiritually pure and therefore wouldn't reflect a thing without a soul. And it's this absence of having a soul that results in the vampire classically not having a reflection. Um, also, um, if we want to map this onto social justice as the metaphorical vampires here, yes, there are many social justice twats who either use social justice to fill the void of a soul they never had, or tragically, very often, people will literally sell their souls to social justice. See also every fucker in Hollywood as of about 2013. Um, but yeah, it whether we're talking in the literal folkloric sense or in the metaphorical sense, your metaphor is fucked, and it points out something rather interesting, which is that there are quite a lot of social justice twats who either never had a soul to begin with or tragically sold their soul to the ideology. And to be fair, this happened to every movement that has a streak of moralistic authoritarianism in it. But um, again, you appear to be overlooking, because social justice can do no wrong, the organic negative repercussions of your ideology and its intellectual body of theories. So knock it the fuck off, please. Moving on.
Like Diaz and many other marginalized people, I grew up in a world where no mirror held my reflection. I was keenly aware of my queerness and troubled by gender at a very early age. Disability, sexuality, mental wellness, trauma and pursuit of spiritual alternatives to the insular Christianity I grew up and added additional dimensions to myself. Perception as a weirdo and clear deviant from the norm.
If that's how you felt, that is to some degree your problem. For one thing, most people don't need to see themselves reflected in society to feel personally valid. That strikes me as you having a very limited and pathological sense of self, and that you developed a chip on your shoulder that you needed to um take a pound of flesh out of the world for, which sort of explains why you fell in with social justice, because that kind of I have a chip on my shoulder and I need to make it everyone else's problem is something rather unique to social justice. Um, and I I I am speaking as not only a queer person, as you would put it, because I'm gay, but also as a disabled person because I have spastic diaplegic cerebral palsy. And I'm also a religious minority because I'm a practicing occultist with more than 19 years of experience. I don't have, I, I'm not going to say I never had moments of that kind of resentment, but I certainly was not so myopically simple-minded as to make that my entire sense of self. Therein lies the problem. Because people with actual merits to speak of, people with actual talent and skills and hobbies and interests, don't tend to define themselves, one, in identitarian terms to begin with, usually, and two, if they do have a list of identities, those lists of identities are descriptive of things they do believe, the way they think, or skills they have, not their inborn, like, naturally randomized physical properties. Like, I never saw myself as having an identity of a white person. I never saw myself as having an identity of a man. And most of the time, I wouldn't even necessarily consider being gay or disabled to be an identity. I consider them to be factors about me, no more significant in most cases than my hair color or my eye color or my skin color, or like, again, people with actual shit going on in their heads, hearts, and lives find more interesting things to define themselves by than their innate inborn characteristics. Because who in the fuck even notices that shit? Unless they're a broken child who has literally no other skills or hobbies or interests to speak of. Which again would explain why you fell in with social justice, because this is a unique thing that befalls social justice in particular, disproportionate to other ideologies. Moving on.
Okay. Navigating a world where these things provoke violent outbursts and social punishments has been pretty well defined. Has pretty well defined my relationship to other people since before I was a teenager, and continues in many ways to define my anti-sociability to this day.
Okay, I feel bad for you if that is accurate. I feel bad for you, but, and again, speaking as a fellow disabled gay guy here, that is a you problem. That is a you problem. The fact that you got so hyper fixated on your innate demographics rather than finding skills, hobbies, interests, ideologies, or like logical paradigms that you can define yourself as. That's a you problem. That's not society's problem. And your resentment for society, okay, as you just got through describing it, is not necessarily valid. And that's why you probably are so addicted to social justice. Because social justice very often will tell you that if you're resentful against the norm or against society for its norms, you are inherently morally pure, morally sacrosanct, and inherently valid. But it just isn't so. Again, people with shit going on in their lives define themselves by the shit going on in their lives, not things no more significant to who they are as a person than their eye color or their hair color should be. Again, you appear to have like suction cup onto the bottom of social justice because it tells you that you are the victim of everything in society, everything in norms, everything in culture, and everything about you and your life, instead of telling you what I would consider to be a much more constructive thing, which is those factors about you are not important and shouldn't be the basis for identities. You should develop yourself as a person and an agent and define yourself that way. If you need to define yourself at all. Moving on.
I wager many people torn between presenting as one thing and being another have discovered writing has always helped me bridge the fractures of my existence, and coming of age in the era of MySpace live journaling that Facebook social media specifically offered me an impersonal means of experimental self-expression for the self that wasn't always immediately apparent to people I wasn't sure if I could trust. I think it's on that bridge, having a means of saying something without actually saying it to someone, knowing you can read reactions before having to deal with them, and even having the option to delete and block people or feedback you don't like, that the vampire started to take hold.
Again, you're projecting something that is a problem unique to yourself. Most people don't have a pathological narcissistic need to define themselves by the way other people view them. Most people don't feel attacked by simply not being the center of attention. That implies that you have um an extremely external locus of your identity, that you need other people's validation rather than being able to provide that validation for yourself and do what they refer to in psychology as self-soothing. It also implies that you have a very weak sense of self if you are that susceptible to the way other people think. I'm not saying no one should give a fuck about what other people think ever, but defining your entire like state and mode of being by other people's perceptions and not having any internal mechanism to bounce back from that on your own is very much a you problem and very much a weakness that social justice is exploiting like a motherfucker. Moving on.
Yeah, okay. Matt Vampire was an early adopter of social media activist strategies, frequently sharing numerous articles and generating political commentary throughout every single day as soon as the possibility to do so became an option. Doing so gave me a sense of power and self-worth. Sharing political articles I agreed with reassured me that I had always been right all those years in communities that denied climate change and, at least from 1999 to 2002, wholeheartedly believed in an imminent apocalypse.
Yeah, what you just described is precisely what I was just now alluding to. Social justice is precisely the house made of gingerbread in the Hansel and Gretel story. It provides you exactly the kind of high calorie, low substance food for your ego that convinces you you're a poor, sacrosanct victim of everything, including yourself. and social justice exploited that to reap a developed follower in you. And my brother in insecurities, my brother in atypical identities, I guess I could say, you will never find a stronger sense of self until you can admit that social justice conned you by telling you what you want to hear, and that was bad for you, and therefore you should oppose social justice, frankly, just for personal revenge reasons after a fashion. But you're never going to the spell's never going to break unless you can stop yourself from going, everything I don't like about my worldview, my framework, or my secular religion is actually someone else's, some other ideology's fault. It can't be that social justice was always the bad guy and only told me what I wanted to hear so it could use me in that way. It has to be that it's liberal appropriation of social justice that's the problem. No, social justice was the problem. It is the problem. It is the villain of your story, and that villain told you everything you wanted to hear so that it could use you. Plain and simple. Moving on.
You mean other? There we go. Okay. Sharing in the outrage of communities bomb myself made me feel like I was part of something big, part of a family, part of a voice real. More than educating others or raising awareness, the promises social media is justified. Through I dove into the queer call-out culture of the early 2000s and relative the opportunity to publicly tear down others, finally part of a clique in power somewhere.
In other words, you let social justice turn you into a bad person. And again, you're never going to escape this spell until you can call the spade a spade. Social justice used your insecurities to turn you into a bad person, and social justice is to blame for that, as well as the portions that as well as you are responsible for the portions that you engaged in. You need to do a little soul searching and come to the Mick Jagger conclusion, which is, and this is hard, but sometimes getting what you want isn't what you need. Sometimes getting someone to narcissistically parrot back at you something that will do nothing but soothe and inflame your insecurities is a bad thing. Just because it feels good doesn't mean it is good, darling. Moving on.
It was punishment for trauma I had endured, a punishment my targets usually didn't deserve, and it was punishment not only politically protected by the liberal ethics my generation inherited from previous identity movements, but it was punishment bizarrely accepted and even encouraged by many outsiders and some recipients, eager to demonstrate their submissive status and dutiful liberal loyalty to the most sadistic and vampiric among us.
Again, it's not liberalism. This isn't liberalism appropriating social justice. This is social justice affecting or infecting everything it can get away with. And again, to help you through this blind spot of yours, the phrase I want to zero in here is the phrase, the punishment my targets usually did deserve. No, again, you need to come to terms with the fact that everything social justice told you was wrong, no matter how good it felt, no matter how valid it made you feel. You're never going to escape this spell unless and until you can admit, I was the bad guy, I was in the wrong, I did things on social justice's behalf because I wanted to believe I was the good guy and I was mistaken in believing so. That is the healthy end of this story, is where you realize, oh, not only is social justice frequently misused in the ways I don't like, but it was always wrong, and I let it make me be in the wrong more than I should have. That is the happy ending. The one where you grow a fucking spine, and again, realize that no matter how good the siren song sounds, it's not going to lead you anywhere except to your death on the sharp rocks of your own metastasized evil. Social justice was in the wrong always, all the time, and not only was it in the wrong, but you should take some responsibility for the bad person you allowed it to make you. Not only was it in the wrong, but you were also in the wrong when you were dancing to its tune. Moving on.
My digital engagement in this style of activism paralleled my descent to drug abuse, as it did with many of the other activists I surrounded myself with. We used drugs and activism as a cover for the frozen, traumatized state we found ourselves in, objective or subjective, but real enough. Either way, we
Oh.
perceived oppression and phobia like walls of jagged glass shards closing in on us everywhere. Everything was wrong, everything hurt,
Yeah.
and there seemed no way out of either. Too poor, too traumatized, too addicted to everything to either seek or receive psychological help. We became a generation of social justice vampires, temporarily sated on a lifeline full of outrage typed out at lightning speed, sent without regret and protected by the constant threat of publicly shaming anyone who would challenge us.
Again, that's not social justice gone malignant. That's what social justice always was underneath the virtue flavored lies. This is unfortunately, this is social justice functioning as intended, and it is the con that you bought into, and you are still, at least at some point, buying into, because you're trying desperately to pawn off the flaws and evils inherent in social justice onto liberalism, onto social media, onto everything under the sun except social justice and the people like yourself who were so high on the drug supply of narcissistic validation that you let it turn you into a bad person. And that you and you alone must take responsibility for the portions of that problem that you are responsible for. Moving on.
Well, we got here through being wounded and not because of some innate character flaw or natural predisposition towards psychic manipulation. Wounded people are susceptible to vampirism. We give empathy to other people who appear to be in need because we know what it is like to be in need and to be ignored. The guilty world that makes us needs no accuser, and in its shame rewards our social outbursts with whatever we demand. Vampirism is taught this way, it is made and rewarded by the same guilty culture, yet to abandon the monstrous process it has initiated.
Okay, no. This right here is precisely your problem. You are trying desperately to frame yourself as the good guy, whether it be because you're the victim of social justice or whether it's because your trauma made you uniquely easy to victimize for social justice. But no, it's both. It's both of those things you just listed. There are some inherent character flaws that led you to be this susceptible, and you do actually need to take responsibility for them and address them. If not to fix them, then to at least admit that you're the bad guy. Because I'm not going to sit here and tell you you need to change who and what you are. I don't think that that's possible, and it wouldn't be desirable even if it was possible. What you can do is stop blaming everything but your scorpion tail for when that scorpion poison stings someone. Admit that you're a bad person, and then at the very least you can take responsibility for it and become lawful as opposed to chaotic evil, and thereby probably end up making yourself at least marginally better by virtue of being willing to take responsibility for that bad behavior. I'm speaking as someone who considers himself a really, really fairly bad person. The difference being, I have come to terms with that, and therefore am aware that I need to restrain those negative parts of my nature to avoid hurting people. Also, by being honest with both myself and with others about the fact that I am a bad person and probably always will be. That is the healthy option. I'm not going to tell you to change because again, I don't think it's even possible to change your nature, and it wouldn't be desirable even if you did. But you can restrain yourself. You can avoid knowingly and willfully causing harm by being as knowledgeable about yourself and whatever particular nature you have as you can, and being willing to take responsibility for that nature and to restrain your worst tendencies when you catch yourself slipping into them by reminding yourself that no matter how good it feels, it doesn't mean you're morally validated. It's why I get so anal retentive about category error. I will knowingly do immoral things because again, I am a bad person, and I probably always will be. I don't even necessarily want to be a good person as I would define it. But the one thing I will not do is frame those inherently bad things as morally good things. I will not commit that category error of it must be a good thing because I like it. No, no. I just know that I'm not a good person, and therefore, as a not good person, I will sometimes knowingly and willfully do bad things.
Dalton, you're repeating yourself.
Yeah. But point being, take some responsibility. You don't have to change, but you do have to actually give a fuck. And maybe in the process of learning how to understand yourself and take responsibility for yourself, you might get at least a little closer to what other people might refer to as a good person. Moving on.
And our politics are not helping. That, for instance, popular insistence that the average lifespan of trans women variously further distinguished as trans women of color or Latina trans women is between 30 to 35 years. I have also heard 25, or that 1 in 8. I have also encountered 1 in 7 or 1 in 12 will be murdered that are routinely cited by alleged trans community advocates to justify trans political inclusion, leaving aside the dramatic leap from murder rates and lifespan to non-discriminant ordinances. To my knowledge, no study has ever been conducted which would produce an average lifespan or murder rate for trans people of any variety. Please correct me if I'm wrong. The closest data I could find would be a 2016 study by the Williams Institute, which suggests that there are 1.4 million trans people in the U.S. So then, for the 1 in 12 statistic to be true, that would suggest that around 117,000 trans people in the U.S. were murdered in 2016. GLAAD, on the other hand, reported 27.
Okay. There are two questions you need to ask yourself that are relevant to proceedings. One, who crafted those studies that you are only just now realizing the procedural and numerical flaws with? And two, what sort of person went looking for that sort of data in the first place? The answer to both of these questions, if we are being honest and objective about the answers and objective reality, is social justice. Social justice had an ideological presupposition, an ideological need to find these sorts of data, and social justice, by way of post-structuralism, explicitly co-opted and restructured the sciences to get themselves to that end. So yeah, no, again, stop making excuses, stop trying to shift the blame onto other ideologies or other parts of culture. Please blame social justice for both of these things, and then blame yourself for the bad behavior and bad qualities you allowed social justice to amplify in you. Only then will you not necessarily become a good person, because again, changing your nature is probably not possible and wouldn't be good if it was. But you might at least become a more self-possessed, more noble person. Because a person who knows they're a bad person and is at least, willing to take responsibility for and contain that badness may not be good, but they're at least noble. In in the same way as someone who realizes they have a minor attracted sexual orientation and just jerks off to manga is an infinitely more moral person than someone who will commit mental gymnastics and philosophical errors to try and defend kitty fiddling as a moral position. You see, one of these persons is self-medicating for an inherent part of themselves they can't control and taking full responsibility for it. One of these persons is so fucked in the head that they will commit the moral category error I was just referring to. Not only do I need to willfully engage in this, but I need to recontextualize it and reframe it as a good thing to do so. Moving on.
I'm being honest. Can we just because I'm not gonna lie, don't I? For some reason, I'm getting a fucking headache. Last couple
Okay.
hours.
Yeah,
Um,
we can return to this next week.
well, I was gonna ask if you wanted to do one more paragraph, and then we can move on to the next thing.
Yeah, one more paragraph's fine.
Okay. These statistical fictions provide a free channel of criticism for conservatives whose research into the origins of this alleged data will not begin and end as at it must be true because a trans actress said it is. Furthermore, this alleged data amounts to not only an expression of psychic vampirism, which used to garner movement support, but also a form of psychological terrorism which against trans youth who I have witnessed falling into mental unwellness upon internalizing the message that their lives will soon be ending. It is fitting then that so many trans people find themselves attracted to vampire relationships with the world, considering the undeath our politics regulate us to.
Yeah, and again,
Relegate,
what you're
sorry, regulate,
yeah,
relegate. I meant relegate. My bad.
what you're referring to as psychic vampirism in that instance is just social justice functioning as intended. And again, the fact that you're trying to lessen the blow by blaming or at least shaming conservatives while you're trying to make this point says to me that you have not yet come to terms with the fact that not only did social justice result in some negative things accidentally, quote unquote, but that social justice was always wrong and you were in the wrong for dehumanizing conservatives for pointing out that social justice was in the wrong. And again, not only who made these studies, for which the answer will be people interested in social justice, but why did they go looking for this particular thing, and why did they restructure by way of post-structuralism the sciences to make this thing they did look morally valid? The answer is social justice, and therefore social justice is the problem. Take responsibility for being conned by social justice, and then take responsibility for the portions of this bad behavior and immorality that you actually engaged in because it felt good at the time. Moving on.
Hey, Don, we finished the Frankenstein video.
Did we? Okay.
Well, actually,
Then
okay. Let me rephrase that. We were close to the end. Maybe like a few minutes.
yeah, I figured there were a few minutes left.
Okay, just I'm looking through the episode where we did it, just so I can get a clear.
Mm-hmm. The last thing I remember was Leon saying the stupid thing about trying to accurately adapt a piece of media defeats the point of adapting the media.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Speaking as a guy who likes to put spin on things, I do think what he says is stupid, but
I'm not saying you can't revamp or spin or reinterpret things. I'm saying that premise as an axiom is one of the single stupidest things I've ever heard in my life.
I agree. I feel it would be somewhat hypocritical of me to disagree with Leon simply because, again, me as a writer, when I try to take inspiration from some existing work, uh, I always try to find an angle that it makes it different, So
Yeah, but you don't actively go out of your way to avoid being accurate to the source material on the grounds that it would be a bad thing for you to be accurate to it,
right.
which is essentially what Leon just argued for.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. So we'll finish this, and then there's a short film that recently had a redux that I would love Dalton to get Dalton's fresh reaction to.
Mm.
Right.
Jack-o'-lanterns.
Yep. Yeah, man.
Point in making the film in the first place. It's just telling the story again, only this time with actors who may or may not represent their character well. The problem with this poor adaptation of the character is not that it's unfaithful, it's that it is worse and unfaithful. Although, frankly, this matters little, because the true test of the film is whether or not it is good all on its own.
Okay, okay. I agree with that last thing you said.
Yeah.
But what was the point of the pseudo-intellectual sidebar that, again, is probably
Yeah.
the single stupidest thing I've ever heard in
Can I,
relation to movies?
Can I offer my perspective on that? I'm not trying to defend him,
Right.
but wouldn't the better idea of if you're adapting it while trying to stay close to the source material, or at least pay enough homage and respect to it, right? Which not a lot of people do when they're adapting things. Again, I guess, yeah, I am kind of being a broken record here, but how I myself have always, when I'm doing adaptations or stuff, I try to be respectful of the source material because it's there and it's the reason why I'm even writing in the first place. But I see it as more like I'm adding my own voice to it, my own mind to my own part to, I guess, the tapestry or a part of the painting in a way.
You're not trying to break something because breaking it would be a good thing. You're trying to add something
Yeah, and
what's already there.
and we did talk a little bit about this when we were watching it last week because that's where we covered it.
Mm.
But you know how I would have done I Frankenstein, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it picks up from the end of the novel. Like, yes, we can do a brief recap, but have it be more actual accurate.
Yeah, instead of breaking with the novel after he kills Victor's wife, have it just be a direct sequel to the novel by having Adam be on the ice trying to kill himself, failing to do so, and then the gargoyles or whatever the fuck find him, or maybe the demons hunt for him and he has to flee, or whichever way you want to do it. But
I think I
instead,
suggested the gargoyles find him.
yeah,
Because we pitched this, we came up with this whole thing of like, because Adam was created from, like, he is his own being. He is a being that is not actually meant to exist. And thus
both
is,
the gargoyles and the demons are like, what in the fuck is that? And also the ability to like fuck with the ineffable plan, so to speak,
yes.
is a weapon that either of them could wield. So.
But oh, I think we added more layers to the demons because, for one thing, I wanted to have the actual creator of the original I Frankenstein comic, who also created who was the writer for the Underworld series, also helped create Blue Marvel and Marvel as well. Kevin I'm going to butcher his last name, and I frankly do apologize for that. Griok, it's something like that. Who would have played the main demon instead of Bill. He played Davy Jones.
Nye. Bill Nye.
Okay, I think because when I've seen his name written down, it looks very similar to Bill Nye, but I know those are two very different, distinct.
Yeah. It's also pronounced slightly differently.
I know, but when you when you're reading it, it looks so similar. So
yeah, it's very hard not to confuse the two.
Right,
but yeah.
What I was saying was replace Bill Nighy's character with Kevin Griot, who is also an actor. He played one of the werewolves in the Underworld series, like the second in command to Martin Sheen's werewolf character or liking character.
Good for him.
Yeah. It also shows that the guy's a big nerd. So I think it would also been cool if he could have played an antagonist to one of his creations, like one of his written stories.
Mm-hmm.
And how I wanted that character, like the villain, main villain as the demon, would be a mix of like Duncan Clark's Kingpin from 2000's Daredevil movie.
You mean Michael Clark Duncan? I think is who you mean.
Yes, sorry. Some to that, but also with a mix of Agent Smith from the first Matrix movie. Like those kind of two big inspirations for that major villain.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm specifically talking about Michael Clark Duncan Kingpin from the director's cut of that Daredevil movie, because as
the one that's not shit.
Yeah. And I think it was the reason why, like, the demons are very interested because with the bodies that were created, it was different from the possessed bodies that they were using because they did not age, they did not get tired, they were incredibly strong, durable. And demons hate they have to possess humans because these are frail bodies. And there was another thing of like, God, I can't remember. I think for like the main demon, he wanted out like of everything.
Hmm.
But yeah, I can't remember if we came up with something interesting for the gargoyles per se. And again, I think a major issue with like the whole thing, uh, I think we made like some point, like kind of create a checklist of what kind of went wrong with I Frankenstein. Aaron Eckhart, I believe, right? That's his name.
Hmm. Hmm.
Was not the best choice to play Adam here.
No.
I think I suggested because at the time it came out, maybe Henry Cavill would have been a pretty good choice for like an action hero, Adam Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Because he does have a height. I do think yes, we could have improved it a little more with some CGI, but he has the physique, he has the voice, especially if you give him his natural like English accent.
Hmm.
And I do think he could legitimately pull off the Shakespearean kind of more romanticized dialogue that that
I
Adam
think
speaks.
when Yeah, when we were talking about this last week, I lamented that it wasn't made in the 80s, because had it been made in the 80s, Andre the Giant could have been perfect.
Yes, but fuck else was I gonna say? Oh yeah, and I think again another issue was like the exposition of the movie was always kind of the big issue, really, because
Yeah, they didn't find a way to work it in any way that would sound like a conversation or even like a narration monologue.
I mean, like if in a way it would have made sense that they were telling things, but it just felt like they were just reading from a page or a
Yeah,
script.
they're they're reading from their own Wikipedia as the movie
Yeah,
is going,
the
basically.
like if you're gonna do if you're gonna have someone sit down and tell someone everything, you gotta the best thing you can do is make sure they, you know, um,
One, make sure it's interesting. Two, make sure it sounds like something a person would actually say at any level. Like,
um, creation of gargoyles, right? I think that would have been like explain why the gargoyles exist and why they're the ones fighting the demons that are on the mortal realm.
mm,
Um, maybe explain that they're not that they are technically angels, but not true angels as angels, those energy beings, right?
mm.
Uh,
Also, I think it could have been interesting, and I mentioned this before, if the gargoyles didn't have the capacity to shift from
oh
gargoyles
yeah,
to
yeah.
humans, especially because um the grotesque strength of gargoyles is very much in like a meaningful way analogous to um Adam himself, especially because in like the traditional sense, gargoyles are typically created beings that are brought to life by like golem style magic, and that could have also been very interesting um for Adam, who is of course a monster that is significantly stronger than most humans and also a created being. It could have actually created a lot of really interesting character dynamics between Adam and the gargoyles, because in a lot of very significant ways they are the same. They are the same in those senses, right down to the fact that most people, when they see gargoyles, they think they're demonic, because in order to fight something demonic, you have to be a little bit wild and unkempt and demonic looking yourself.
hmm Um, I was thinking of. I mean, technically, Adam would be a MacGuffin. His
Yeah,
body, his soul, all the things that make him him.
yeah.
Be,
The open question of what exactly did Victor do and why did it do that?
yeah. Um, and oh, I think we made it that he kind of always kind of kept out of this thing because he just wanted to be left alone, right?
Yeah.
Always on the fringes of everything. I mean, he did keep he kept weapons from the gargoyles, which were, I believe, I pitched that it was maces instead of like swords, right?
Mm.
Like battle maces.
Yeah. Might have been interesting also if they were morning stars, because I mean, little like nod to like Lucifer or something along those lines.
Yeah. But I was just thinking because if he has the superhuman strength and the speed and stuff, swinging those around, even though they're like actually legitimately heavy.
Yeah, like dual wielding something that would normally take a normal person
2 hands.
2 hands to use.
We have 1.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, no, the main demon, the big boss demon, or at least maybe not big boss. Well, he's the leader of this group of demons that are working on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
He absolutely despises being trapped in mortal flesh because it's finite. And the thing is, like, they go back to hell.
I think we also came up with the idea that demons can actually feel while they're in there.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that was. It's all numb. Like they can't even enjoy like the actual pleasures of the sins they punish these mortals for.
It's a little bit like the apple scene from Pirates of the Caribbean. The Barbossa's, once the curse is lifted, I'm gonna eat a bushel full of apples type thing.
Mm-hmm. But I think they also like he'd not want to go back to hell because hell is a punishment even for demons. That was the whole point originally. If we're going more biblical, right?
Yeah, it's not meant to be a place for damned souls. It's meant to be a place to keep the fallen separate from God.
Yeah. Again, I like the description. Like, I kind of want to keep the description from Supernatural, like the early seasons of Supernatural that was described. It's a prison made of flesh and bone.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I had added, I had thought of adding to that description was, it's filled with the eternal screams of the damned, constantly wailing. So there's no like peace to be found, no quiet, no solitude.
There's also I don't know if you ever did end up seeing Nefarious, but there's a line there that I think is taken or at least inspired by Christopher Marlowe's Faust, which is that hell is both a place and a state of being, like separateness from God. And so hell is both the place where you are the most separate from God, but it is also the state of being separate from God, so that demons take it wherever they go.
Yeah. But yeah, I think and again we pitched the scene of like the main demon, let's call him Grim, just because like main demon and stuff, it's just like mouthful. I'm sure if we looked up a demon that would have made sense for this, we would have used it. Maybe had his name be an anagram.
Azazel probably would be, if we're going with it'd be a little nod to the Book of Enoch with the idea of the second fall. For those that don't know, in the Book of Enoch, it's made very explicit that there's actually 2 falls. One is the war in heaven with Lucifer and so on, but the other is I believe they're called the Griphori or Griphori, who are these beings that God appointed to be watchers for humankind, who fell in love with mortals and thereby fell.
Azazel was the one who taught humanity magic, correct? Or am I
He's one of the ones that did, although his specialization was more like metalsmithing. He was kind of like Guvnu or Hephaestus in the sense that he was the.
which kind of would make sense here, sort of, in a way.
Mhm.
And then you have right, and we pitched that that the demons had the bride's body still.
Right, and they're trying to figure out how to bring her to life so they can use her as their weapon.
And that, I think that was why Adam would start to get involved, was like the demons offer him to have this bride if it was to help them figure out how Victor made him and the bride.
Right,
Well,
and
the bride has been.
And of course they're going to screw him because, well, demons. But
Well, okay, that's how like pop culture. I don't get me wrong. I know demons don't technically.
yeah, demons are more complex than that. But this movie doesn't do. They don't do the like medieval demonology or like Ars Goetia level of homework. I wish more demons in popular culture did more than that. But I don't want it to go too far on the other side too, because I think as much as I enjoy Disney Pop going into the lore, and I do like the idea that hell does contain good people and so on, like um, I think going all the way over to like the Hellaverse route of no, the demons are good actually, or at least
No, I'm not
mostly
saying.
good actually.
Look, I'm speaking as a Christian. I don't think demons should be portrayed, but I do think there has to be some type of, because I think we're talking about like, oh, there's a lot. Should be more of a bureaucratic level to all of this as well.
Yeah,
But I'm just, demons do technically keep their word. It's just more so on how a human phrases the deal they're making.
it also depends on the demon. Some demons are just as like hateful and anti-humanity and wanting to screw over humanity as the stereotype implies. Other demons actually, like there's one demon in the Ars Goetia that I can think of, but I don't remember the name off the top of my head. Um, I I think it's Marcosis that is the demon I'm thinking of. It explicitly says in the Ars Goetia that he wants to serve humanity as penance for siding with Lucifer in the fall, and he's hoping that after a certain number of years he can return to heaven and become an angel again. So yeah, demons, it varies from demon to demon as to one, what their like reasoning for siding with Lucifer or against God was, and two, who they are as people. Like a lot of times people think that, oh no, every demon is part of a conspiracy to screw over humanity because they hate humanity and they think they're better than humanity and they want to screw over God and so on. But if you actually look into the particulars of demonology, it's more complicated than that.
Right.
Demons
I
are
think
still
also.
intelligent
Sorry.
beings who have their own like idiosyncrasies and stuff.
I am also thinking I don't want to see the demon forms, just because demons and angels, like how they're often described or
Yeah.
detailed about, they are beings beyond human comprehension.
Well, that, but also, a lot of the fallen still look like angels. Like, there's this sort of implicit mythology of the darkness of hell, like twisted them into these grotesque forms. But in a lot of cases, that's not the case, or at least not. It's not as over the top and cartoonish as it's implied there.
But my what I mean is that because they're demons which are possessing humans, why would they need to have a demonic form to be shown?
Well, I was also thinking this is weird for me, and that I'm kind of thinking in terms of like thematic juxtaposition there. given what we just covered with the gargoyles bonding and relating to Adam because of the whole they are, created monstrosities that people prejudge and are also in some kind of abstract sense artificial beings as well. Running with that, if the gargoyles that are the angel surrogates in this scenario are grotesque monstrosities, again, like Adam himself, while the demons maintain their quasi-angelic prettiness, I think that would be an interesting juxtaposition.
Well, I'm also just thinking, like, budget-wise, it would make the most sense
Well,
if
yeah,
cut-
that too. But
Can I?
sorry. Go ahead.
I think it would be beneficial on the budget to forgo the makeup and special effects of the demon looks. Maybe maybe do more so like eye things, like maybe eye contacts or anything. Give just a subtle hint, because again, these should be more possessed bodies rather than demons taking this form. And that would save money to do more to perfect the visual effects of the gargoyles.
The classic yellow or red serpent eyes would be interesting. Or again, maybe the demon's eyes are like unnaturally pretty because again, possible juxtaposition between the demons being evil and the gargoyles actually being good, but also being monstrous.
If we wanted to lean into like the 2000s kind of edge, and maybe the Matrix vibes, because a lot of those, like even Underworld, kind of did that.
Mm-hmm.
Although someone has made the argument that The Crow kind of inspired The Matrix and those other kind of movies as well with the aesthetics.
I don't know about that. The Wachowskis loved the like punk aesthetic and the like goth leather aesthetic long before The Crow before it even came out. So like
I'm just saying it was Crow's 1993. Anyway, my point. If we wanted to take some inspiration from that, which why not?
Mm-hmm.
Just because they're in hiding among humans, the demons, right?
Mm-hmm.
What if they're kind of dressed sort of like agents with the sunglasses and everything? Because obviously their eyes would be unnatural, relatively.
So they would cover them with sunglasses.
I think
I like the idea as long as we don't give them the agent's suits.
No, I was thinking because they're okay. This is an oversimplification, but I think it's just a good nod because the gargoyles look monstrous and are basically like stone looking, and some of them could look more old and weathered given how old they can be sometimes.
Mm.
While the demons look more newer, or dressed more newer, since they're just human bodies, right? Human hosts.
Mm.
They dress more, and given their vanity and stuff, sometimes, depending on the demon, obviously.
Yeah.
But they're dressed more in fancy suits, more designer things,
Yeah. The like sexual old world come hither of I am an ancient angelic being and I can be as beautiful as I want to, essentially.
Yes and no, but yeah. Trying to think if there's, ending wise, I do think the bride should be resurrected, or no, resurrected, or what's the word?
Vivified was the word I believe
Right.
I came up with. Because revivified means to be brought back to life. Vivified would therefore just be to bring to life.
Yeah, vivified. But before the body itself could be taken over by any type of demon or whatever.
Mm.
Um,
They're thwarted, which means that Adam does get the girl at the end, or at least potentially gets the girl.
I would say yes, simply because. Well, okay, I'm not sure. Like that could be explored more in a sequel,
Mm.
but she is awakened.
Yeah, she. Honestly, I like the idea of her opening her eyes and asking, like, who she is or what she is or maybe who he is. Should probably be like the last scene before it cuts to black, or maybe even. I know this is more common now than it was back then, but like a post-credit scene um, where her eyes open and she asks who and what she is and stuff.
Okay, this is actually an interesting question. Because I don't know if they would they be similar eyes to Adam's, like the more yellow eyes, or
Probably, if it's using the same process, then yeah. Although it is possible that Adam might be able to perfect his father's work, considering that this was Victor's rough draft, essentially. Remember, so it's possible that in addition to solving the thematic like sins of the father, he might actually be able to improve on his father's legacy, which would mean a prettier girl for him. So happy ending.
I'm just thinking, visually for the bride, I would want to do short hair, but have like white streaks in it, like on the sides.
Who would you get for
Okay,
the bride?
if we have Henry Cavill as Adam. See, the thing is, I'm considering the fact that the bride would technically have to be at least similar or close to similar height as Adam.
Yeah, my first thought, Gwendolyn Christie.
Say that one more time.
Gwendolyn Christie.
I could see her actually. Yeah.
And she's certainly pretty enough that Adam simping for her would be justified. Well,
Her with black hair with the white streaks in it actually looks really good. I think that.
Did they have her designed that way in this movie though?
They didn't have a bride.
Oh, okay. Never mind then.
To be fair, actually, I did come across some concept art for it though.
Okay, so yeah.
It was in the ideas, but I don't think they ever finalized it.
Mm.
I don't know. It's been a while since I've watched I Frankenstein, but I don't think there was a bride.
Yeah, and Gwendolyn Christie can provide a similar like level of like posh, dignified old world nature as Adam himself. Anyway, we should move on because we still have other things to do.
That's one video. So yeah. Okay.
And it is decidedly not good in the slightest. Going back to what was said before, I, Frankenstein appears to be the culmination of several negative trends in Hollywood, the first being among its oldest, a poor adaptation of a better piece of literature. The second two are the Twilight-inspired sexy monster and the Seth Graham Smith popularized 19th century world turned upside down and made stupid. Lambasting bad movies is like shooting fish in a barrel, but this is a mild...
Honey, do you genuinely think that Twilight created the monster fucker like concept instead of merely amplifying and popularizing it? Because if you genuinely think that Twilight of all things created monsters are sexy, you are sheltered, my brother, in movie criticism. The women have been simping for monster creatures since literally the time when these novels were first written. Like the
Okay.
one of the whole things, which this is well handled in the Gary Oldman Dracula, the Bram Stoker's Dracula. Um, Dracula being attractive enough to seduce Mina is like a major plot in the freaking book. So again, Victorians also simped for monsters. They just did it in a much more classy way because, well, Victorians. But yeah, monster the the desire, especially in a romantic context or a romance novel context, um, to redeem or fix or better monsters. I mean, Beauty and the Beast and what have you. But like, yeah, it's as old as the hills, my dude. Twilight just created the most like hot topic at the mall, basic white bitch hipster, simple, oversimplified, over cheesy version of it. Which, to be fair, yeah, that we can blame Twilight for. But if you think Twilight created sexy monsters, you got some research to do for someone as apparently like intellectual and literary as you are, Leon.
All right.
Jack-o'-lanterns.
Milestone in terrible thinking and misunderstanding trends. I, Frankenstein is not the story of the famous nameless monster fighting demons. It is the story of three rotten trends all racing towards the finish line of this film to see which one sucks the most. It's kind of a tie.
Leon, again, the movie one-upped you here because the movie appears to be more aware of the fan base for Frankenstein than you are, because pretty much since the novel came out, fans of said novel have fan headcanoned that his name is Adam, because that's what he refers to himself as in relation to his father's desire to one up God, essentially. So yeah, no, the monster isn't nameless. For all intents and purposes, it is culturally universal that he is Adam because he calls himself that, and mm, anyone who's a fan of the novel or a fan or has any sympathy for the creature himself has basically all mutually come to the conclusion his name is Adam, and that's what we're running with. Moving on. Jack-o'-lanterns.
Yeah. And that's it.
Yeah. Next, what is this short film about that you want my take on?
Give me one sec.
Okay. Sorry if I'm distracted. I'm thinking about my kitty.
He'll come back.
My aunt found him apparently. It's just a matter of getting him to come back in the house.
What kind of food does he like?
I spoil him with random shit. I can feel you rolling your eyes.
What's up? Sorry, I didn't catch that. I was busy setting it up. So
I said I spoil him with random shit.
is there any particular favorite he has, or
He likes chicken, he likes fish, he likes yogurt, he likes milk. He does he does eat the kibble as well, but I don't think he likes it as much. But he's not super food motivated. The main issue is he doesn't like people, and so if people go out looking for him, he's probably going to run in the opposite direction of wherever they're coming from, which is a problem. Anyway, What is this? What is this short film about that you want my take on?
The Weary Traveler. It's a Frankenstein story.
Okay.
I'm more surprised you haven't seen this. It's a Redux. Like, it just came out last night, but there was one that released like maybe a few years back.
Hmm.
Same thing. I think they just updated it a little bit, like graphically, maybe.
I don't watch I don't watch short films and fan films quite as much as you do, dude.
You probably should, man. It's a lot better than most shit we're getting in mainstream, at
Well,
least.
yes, but usually all that does is piss me off because people with actual talent who give a shit are relegated to the doldrums of YouTube, while people like Kathleen Kennedy get multi-million-dollar studio deals and what have you. In a world where Leslie Headland can make The Acolyte on Disney's dime with Star Wars, it pisses me off that stuff like this, I'm assuming, because if you're recommending it to me, it's probably pretty good, gets relegated to the slums of YouTube. Moving on though, Jack-o'-lanterns.
Hold on. Did I put it up too high in the graphics? No, it's at 480. Huh. Okay, yeah, this must have been the Redux part because it looks a lot more cleaner at just 480.
Anything you want to add right now? Because I don't. It's
I
really
can mention the color grading looks good.
again, Hollywood. We've had color cinema for almost a century now. Please learn how to do it properly, or I guess relearn, because there was a time where we understood how stylization and lighting worked, but we live in an exceptionally poor age for cinema.
Hmm.
Jack-o'-lanterns.
Yep. Sorry, I got the 20-second thing. So.
Jack-o'-lanterns.
Mm-hmm. Okay, before I don't know if you can see them, but I just want you I'm just asking if you can see the short film. Can you see what the guy we're watching walk? What his attire looks like?
Mm-hmm.
He's wearing a bowler hat. He's wearing marginally fancy suit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just so clearly it's not modern day.
Mm-hmm.
Just want you to keep that in mind.
Because heaven forfend, modern people have a sense of style and taste. Yes, yeah, I realize I'm being a petty bitch, but I get to be, god damn it. It pisses me off. I sincerely think we would have been better off if the T-shirt was never invented.
Save it for your blog.
I mean, what do you call this?
My podcast.
Uh-huh. And you're splitting the hairs rather fine there, my friend. This is probably the closest thing we have to a video blog.
Okay, I'm glad you didn't say vlog. I appreciate that. Anyway. Jack-o'-lanterns?
I was going to, but I could tell it was going to make you cringe if I did. So I was like, I will avoid it this once.
Jack-o'-lanterns?
Jack-o'-lanterns.
Sorry. I got a little too enamored there.
The music is interesting.
Well, it's very tense.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, funny enough, this is all set. This is all filmed. I believe the guy is set. The YouTuber who made this is, yeah, I think he's set in California.
We won't hold it against him. If California sinks into the ocean like fucking Numenor, like it deserves to, we will try to save him.
Jack-o'-lanterns?
Jack-o'-lanterns.
Hello?
Just find random stuff in a cave, calling out for someone, and you just pick up stuff. Feels like he's kind of stealing, huh?
I mean, the self-preservation of people who find themselves in horror movie scenarios is not
Well,
usually.
no, okay. I don't know if that's correct because he's actively here. He's searching for someone.
Mhm.
So he put himself in this situation.
Yeah, but again, self-preservation instincts are not these sorts of movie characters' strong points. Desperately wish we could have some protagonists that weren't fucking morons, but
See, I've watched this, so I know what's happening and what's going to happen. So just keep all those criticisms in mind for a later reveal. Okay?
Noted. And jack-o'-lanterns.
The guy just found the Journal of Victor Frankenstein.
Ah.
And we are about to have someone appear.
Presumably Adam.
Jack-o'-lanterns?
Jack-o'-lanterns.
Those are not yours! Oh my god! You're real. Leave this place now or die by my hand. Wait. I mean no harm. I only seek a moment of your time. A moment to you is a waste for me. You're the son of man, yes? You are his creation. I am a monster!
Okay, I admire the stones on bowler hat guy here, because
Keep taking notes, Dalton.
realistically, most people would have pissed themselves and run away by now. So good for you, bowler hat possessing fellow.
Keep this in mind, Dalton. I want you to keep this in mind.
Jack-o'-lanterns.
Well, actually, hold on. What do you think of Adam so far?
He looks good.
Yeah, that's
Well,
good.
I mean, good for a portrayal of Adam. I mean, poor guy. Someone please give me a Frankenstein story where Adam survives to the modern day and avails himself of modern plastic surgery, because like that would solve 90% of his problems.
Makeup isn't bad, actually. Also, I know it's like subtle, but it's there, and it's
Right?
cool.
Yeah, it works, especially keeping in mind that this is on a budget.
Very small budget, so yeah.
I can't tell if they did something to the actor's voice or if this is just how this actor sounds.
I would say it's kind of actually his voice. So
good for him.
Yeah.
Jack-o'-lanterns.
To some, but not to me. To me, you're a miracle of modern science. I'm an abomination. Far from it, my friend. God made man. Man made you. I have searched long and hard to find you.
Okay, bowler hat dude continues to impress me. Good for you for giving Adam the fucking personal support he desperately needs. Because again, I just want to give Adam all the hugs. Because fuck Victor for making him think of himself this way.
Yeah. Keep this all like just keep this fresh in your head, Don. I want you to keep this fresh in your head.
I am waiting for the other shoe to drop because your laugh there suggests to me there's about to be some bait and switch thing here.
We got time, so.
Jack-o'-lanterns.
Whether for sport or profit, many men have quested to find me. They hunt me like a dog, and I've grown weary of it. I am no man's trophy.
Adam, honey, the only thing I desire you for is to be a trophy husband.
Yes.
But I also want to say this. I like the speech. I know it's not as wordy or flowery, but it is.
Yeah, it's obviously it's obviously taking a stab at it, at least. That the person who wrote this is trying.
Yeah,
but
he
sounds
intelligent, though. He does sound intelligent.
Yeah,
It's a lot more simple, which I think, honestly, because given he has been alone long enough, I don't think he really has to be very. He's a lot more straightforward. He's a lot more blunt now.
Well, not to mention, he doesn't really have much of an excuse to talk unless he talks to himself. So
yeah,
isolation makes anyone go a little nuts in the head. Much less with the infinite daddy issues jitsu that Adam was saddled with here.
Yeah.
Jack-o'-lanterns.
Yes, and unarmed. I'm no hunter, friend. I'm just a curious traveler.
Then consider yourself lucky. Now go. I have no business with man.
Please, sir, grant me an audience. Be it brief. I should leave at your discretion.
Go!
I mean, not to be a dick, bowler hat possessing fellow, but he already expressed that his discretion was for you to leave. So, you should, if you were being honest right there, you should have already left. Like, he made very clear in no uncertain terms that he would prefer you to leave now.
Again, just you need to keep all this in mind. I want you to keep that in mind.
Yeah. Jack-o'-lanterns.
Oh! Before I change my mind.
Please, good sir. You must be the least bit curious of modern society.
I have left the world of man long ago, and I have not looked back since. You're wasting your time.
What year is it?
Based on the way he's dressed, it could be anywhere from the 1920s to the 1940s.
Okay, well, no, let's keep in mind when the novel came out, because let's assume that's all, right?
1818, I believe.
Yes.
So it's been anywhere from 100 to 150 years since that whole shizzle went down.
So let us continue then to find out.
Yep. Jack-o'-lanterns.
Since when?
Since the death of my father.
Victor Frankenstein.
You know of him too?
Who doesn't? Your story has become legend. Books and plays
Have been reading about you for nearly.
As much as I don't want to add any negativity to the pile of negativity Adam already has, Adam, honey, if he knows about you, there's almost no chance that he didn't learn about you from learning about Victor in the first place. Because, like, how else do you think that would happen?
I want you to listen very closely to what's about to be said, Dalton.
Okay, jack-o'-lanterns.
legend. Books and plays
Have been reading about you for nearly a century.
Century? What year is this?
1893.
Then I am 101 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good attention to detail.
It is.
I
Well
respect that a lot. Not many
Yeah.
people would think of doing that.
Yep, well played to you, creator of the short,
Chris.
Chris.
Chris R. Notarily. I'm
Okay.
probably butchering his last name, and I apologize for that.
He's not good at names in general.
I really am not. Again, if I hear it, then I can say it, obviously, but reading it, there's always so many different, like...
Nuances of pronunciation and shit. To
Yeah.
be fair, some of that is the fault of the English language, because we make rules and then violate our own rules like 6 ways from Sunday every fucking time. Anyway, but that's neither here nor there.
Jack-o'-lanterns?
Jack-o'-lanterns, yeah.
Oh, he's being kind. And the man speak his piece.
I cannot believe nearly a century has passed since his death.
He died of pneumonia, yes?
Yes.
I also want to point out this is just a scene between them talking, and I am utterly enraptured by it.
Mm-hmm. Good writing can do that.
Well, good
Shit,
writing, good acting, good blocking. A lot of things have to congeal, but
Yeah.
when you put the effort in and the passion,
Yeah, and you know what the fuck you're doing.
it doesn't. It can be an action scene. It can be a scene of just two people talking. it will grip the audience. So
Some of my favorite movies are frequently just extended conversations. Like Nefarious from a couple of years ago was like that, and it's a really good movie, despite the fact that it mostly takes place all in one room.
yeah, all right, Lawrence.
Jack-o'-lanterns.
Hated him so much for making me this thing, for betraying me, for abandoning me. I thought time would have claimed me by now, but a century has now passed, and I feel no different.
And he still looks very, very young.
Well, that was also a question. Like, does he actually age?
That is indeed a question. Based on the way he looks, I'm guessing no, or at least very, very slowly.
Well, the thing is, like, with the bodies which were collected from corpses, they don't really age as much as decay, which would take over time. But granted, he's reanimated via unknown means, which I think we've both kind of agreed, in some sense, are alchemical in order.
Yeah,
In fashion.
I mean, the story that Mary Shelley based Frankenstein off of is the story of an alchemist, not a scientist.
But yeah, I just sorry. So there's an oddness there of what legitimately. It's a question of the flesh that has been reanimated via these means.
A lot of people had canon that Adam is immortal, and even the original novel makes it ambiguous to whether Adam can even die.
Oh, I think if you cut his head off, he would, but
Well, yeah, or set him on fire or something, but like age and most forms of physical trauma are not going to do it, is my point. Like
yeah.
you probably can't just put a bullet in him and call it a day.
Yeah. But you can
Although
also,
if anyone tries to put a bullet in him, I will be the first to get in the fucking way, because
Jack-o'-lanterns.
Jack-o'-lantern.
Why do you seek me?
I heard the stories. I read many books about you and the late doctor. Just wanted to see if the legends were true.
Begrudgingly, they are.
May I ask of your creation?
You may.
What do you know of it?
You notice how he's like super interested in all these, like he's
Yeah,
actually,
I am getting treachery vibes. He's going to figure out how Adam was made and then betray
well,
him.
the thing is, like, he's not okay. I want you to really consider this. The questions he asks, instead of, I mean, they sound, given his meek nature, sound very innocent and simply trying to get to know him.
Yeah, but no, this is treachery. My treachery senses are tingling, and I want to shiv this asshole now.
Bet you want his bowler hat though.
Oh no, I'm keeping that. I'm taking that as a trophy. If he does anything bad to Adam, he will die in a pool of his own blood, and then I will take his hat.
All right, Jack-o'-lanterns.
Jack-o'-lantern.
I am the composition of 8 different men, hastily sewn together.
And who are they?
Criminals and degenerates mostly. My father did not ask too many questions when it came to the selection process.
It's interesting to give the number of 8 men because I don't think it was specified, right?
I don't remember if it was specified in the novel or not.
I know it was multiple men. I know it was multiple.
Right, yeah, it's obviously multiple. It's just I don't remember it being specified. I could be wrong.
Anyway, shall we?
Jack-o'-lanterns.
I look at my reflection many times, at this face, and wonder who it belonged to. How many atrocities these hands have committed before they were mine. This body, this amalgamation that I am, is a cesspool of sin.
You're insecure, don't know what for. You're turning heads when you walk through the door. Sorry.
Well, now we're starting to get the more flowery, you know.
Yeah. Again, my guess is partly the issue is he just hasn't talked to anyone in a long time.
Well, for over near a century. So
Now that he's getting back into the habit of it, his more philosophical tendencies come back.
Jack-o'-lanterns?
Jack-o'-lanterns.
And wickedness.
You cannot judge yourself for the action of others.
Even if those others make up yourself.
You had no say on who those men were. Why should they have a say on who you are?
You make a good point. Tell me, what is the world like in this day?
Okay, I still am getting treachery vibes from this motherfucker. But my fucking god, it's about fucking time someone said it. And this obviously is a very interesting philosophical question about, you know, sort of a almost like genetic or evolutionary issue of how much do his component parts make up the difference of who and what he is.
Well, I think we should. Okay, if we follow the line of logic that those men, while criminals, right, which does explain his violent nature and lashing out when abandoned.
I think that might just be the rage that any child would feel.
No, but what I'm saying is, what I'm saying is, if we're following the line of logic, that the body parts do imprint some form of emotion or make up him in some way, spiritually, right? Following that line.
Sorry, go ahead.
Following that line of logic, would that not infer that those men were also, like, some of those or not all of the men that comprise him were in some way spiritually and philosophic, like spiritualists, philosophers, deep thinkers, highly empathic, all of that, as he is.
I don't remember if we get any particulars with regards to his brain in the novel or not.
But I'm just saying, given how Adam speaks, how he feels, how he acts, and if we are to believe, this is hypothetical, obviously. If we are to believe that that there is at least a fragment of a soul or whatever memories or anything that make up the body of Adam, would that not entail that these men were as deep, as emotional, as philosophical as Adam is, that are simply amplified and magnified from his creation?
It's possible, but I think it cheapens him, so I hope it's not the case.
It's simply a theory that I'm proposing. I'm not saying it is, nor am I saying it's my headcanon. I'm just proposing the theory that as it is presented. Okay?
Yeah, I always chalked that up to Victor's improvements of the raw materials and trying to create the perfect being. And then proceeding to be too stupid to realize he succeeded because he is the worst father in literary history, but we've already been through that.
Anyway, shall we?
Jack-o'-lanterns.
It has become quite a spectacle. Uh, do you know what an automobile is?
No.
It is a motorized wagon that runs on fossil fuel.
All by itself.
Yes.
Amazing what modern science can do. Wouldn't you agree?
Indeed. Perhaps you might want to accompany me on my journey back and witness 1%.
As intrigued as I may be, I must decline.
Yeah.
Good for him, because again, I sense treachery in this motherfucker, but under other circumstances, this would make you sad.
Jack-o'-lanterns?
Jack-o'-lanterns.
It is too dangerous for me.
A lot has changed since you left, but I assure you, you will be safe.
Things may change, but man's true nature never does. There is always a catch.
There's no catch.
I mean,
Perhaps you
again, I sense
Perhaps you-
treachery in this motherfucker, but oh baby, please, oh. Again, my desires to hug his pain away are intensifying. God damn it. And yes, I suppose wanting him for romantic reasons is, in a way, a selfish catch on my part. But I'm trying, damn it.
All right. Jack-o'-lanterns?
Jack-o'-lanterns.
Perhaps you never met a good friend. I'm Renfield.
I was never given a name.
Then perhaps it's
Okay.
Did
Did you catch that?
Did I hear that correctly?
What did you hear?
He said his name was Renfield.
I wonder who that is.
Dude. It's okay. A+ for the diabolical laughter.
I knew you wouldn't. As soon as I watched this, like rewatched this, I wanted to show you this because that reveal there would have.
The question is Rennie working on his own account post Dracula, or is he working for Dracula to recruit Adam?
Shall we continue to find out?
You're enjoying this far too much. I appreciate it, but you are enjoying it far too much.
I'm sorry, it's just because I know something you don't know right now, and I never get to have that moment for myself. So
True. But to be fair, that's part of what makes me useful to you. So
let me enjoy this.
very well. Moving on, Jack-o'-lantern.
Given a name.
Then perhaps it's time you take one.
A name is only important if there's someone to call it. I appreciate your candor and your offer, Mr. Renfield, but I have no desire to go anywhere with you, let alone reveal myself to any more humans.
I understand. You're reluctant.
Okay, questions. Again, the open question is Rennie working on his own account for like, to collect other characters from similar such stories, or is he working on the behalf of his erstwhile master? Because 1893 is still well within the purview of the events of Dracula, the novel, are potentially yet to have happened. So Vlad could have sent Rennie to recruit him. Or again, this might be the events of the novel have already happened, and Renfield is looking for a connection to kind of give his life some semblance of normalcy after his encounters with the supernatural. This is the question.
Well, we know that this short film takes place after the original Frankenstein novel, at least by
Yeah.
a century. So
Yeah. Or
we know that at least.
almost, not quite a century.
That's why I said about. I said about a
Yeah.
century.
1818 to 1893 would be 80 some years, I think.
Yep.
Like 80 or early 80, I believe.
Shall we?
Yeah. Jack-o'-lanterns.
There is a difference between reluctance and experience. Man will always fear what is different from him. And I am the very definition of that.
Maybe you just haven't been.
I think
Again.
you should head back down your way, Mr. Renfield. It will be dark soon, and the dark is quite unforgiving.
Is there no way I can convince you to join me?
No. Now go.
Again, one wonders what he would make of plastic surgery, and one also wonders what Adam would make of not to put too fine a point on it, but the monster fucker subgenre, because I can guarantee you that I am not alone in that many, many, many people would consider Adam to be one of the finest catches in human history.
Those violent tendencies, I think, are somewhat of a deal breaker, but is violent tendencies.
I mean, to some degree, but that's mostly because his father fucked his head up, and then no one else ever gave him the time of day. Presumably, being able to bond with someone in sincere terms would alleviate quite a lot of that. Because as Adam put it, for the sake of one individual, I would make peace with all. I have love in me, the likes of which you could not imagine, and rage the likes of which you could not believe. If I may not satiate the one, I shall indulge the other. Meaning that if it's a more explicit version of what I always end up thinking with Homelander. If someone actually gave a fuck about him for 5 seconds, he probably would be overjoyed by it.
Shall we?
Yeah. Jack-o'-lantern.
And never seek me out again.
Unfortunately, my master won't be pleased.
You are master.
Forgive me, perhaps I withheld a minor detail too.
What are you really doing here? Speak, or I will rip you limb from limb.
I mean, justified anger, especially given what we know about Renfield's master. Because, again, Dracula, and again, this does nothing but confirm Adam's self-loathing and cynical presuppositions, which just makes me want to hug him all the harder.
Mm-hmm.
Jack-o'-lantern.
He wished to see you, to study you.
To dissect me!
No! He admires you like I do. He knows things. He can help you.
What you make me for? A fool? Tell your master I only wish to be left alone. Do you hear?
Please, you are making a mistake.
Do you hear? Then leave this place and tell your master, should he or any of his emissaries dare cross my path, I will not show them the same mercy I have shown you!
Again, it's so sad. I just want to hug him. Also, fuck Renfield and by proxy also Vlad, because just all the fuck you for inflaming Adam's wounds again. Damn it.
Mhm.
Jack-o'-lanterns.
He got fucked up.
I mean, again, I don't blame Adam for this. He gave someone a chance and it immediately bit him in the ass and would have probably literally bit him in the neck if he had actually acquiesced to it. So, just, oh, fuck Renfield and Dracula by proxy.
You know, I'm not gonna lie. I would like to see like the version, like the book version Adam and the book version of Dracula actually sit down and have a conversation, because I think that would actually genuinely be interesting.
Read the full staff books, shared universe.
Okay.
Adam is considered the adoptive cousin of Quincy Harker, the main character in the Quincy Harker Demon Hunter book series, who is the son of Jonathan Harker and Mina Murray.
Yeah, you told me about the series. You tried to get me into it a few times.
Yeah, and we do actually see Adam, and there's at least one of the stories where we actually see a story from Adam's point of view.
Jack-o'-lanterns?
Jack-o'-lanterns.
Jack-o'-lanterns?
Jack-o'-lanterns.
Master One, be pleased.
Bullets is his. I wonder what would have happened if he had come himself. Dracula, I mean.
That's a good question.
Also, I wish we had. I wish it had outlined what Dracula actually wants Adam for.
Well, okay, because this is, Adam here is a lot more like his book counterpart than Dracula would be a lot more like his book counterpart. I don't know much about Bram.
Well, okay, so we know that Dracula is known to have control or try to control other supernatural creatures. Like, there explicitly refers to that werewolves are subordinate to Dracula in the novel.
Why the fuck is that shit never mentioned in any other adaptations?
Because it's very much like Mary Shelley's original Frankenstein. People are more interested in the 1930s take on the character than the actual original novel. Most of the actual original novel gets lost in translation. There are some that try to take a stab at it, like the Gary Oldman one, but for the most part, most adaptations of these novels get lost in translation. Because it's honestly more like Hollywood is interested in adopting the characters than adapting the material that the source the source material that they actually come from. And then more often than not, more recent adaptations will not cite the original novel, they will cite other adaptations of the novel, usually the Universal 1930s ones. Anyway, it's time for outros, and I need to
Yeah.
go look and see.
So
if
with
I
that, folks, I want to say goodbye. Adios, aloha, avidazai, sayonara, peace, cheers, and
Shalom and fuck off, and don't be like Renfield or Adam's father, because they are horrible, apparently.